Welcome to the talk shop.
The range of emotions in the last how many days do you say? In the last 2 days has been incredible on all fronts. A lot of things have gone on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure all of you listening have a sense of what we're talking about. But we'll dive into everything and a little bit more right now. So, but yeah, how you doing though? Otherwise,
I'm good. We're diving into our third week of daycare closure and dealing
mm,
with that. And I'm just thankful that my mom is in the same city, so
mm-hmm,
she's helped us out. Though, like she really takes care of PJ during the day while I'm working. So,
mm.
um, really really happy and grateful that we can do that. But hopefully, fingers crossed, next week, it opens up. Because, yeah, it's been wild. It's been wild.
Yeah, I know. I mean, for the first time in a couple of months, Kaima was home last week because she was sick. Wasn't a COVID thing or anything. She just, had a cold or something. We don't know what it was. But it
Mm-hmm.
was the first time she was sick. I mean, generally she was the same in terms of she wasn't like, I don't know how to say it. It wasn't as bad, but you could tell she was sick. Like she wasn't as strong
Mm-hmm.
until she like took the meds, and then for the period the meds were working, she was active again, whatever. And then once we got back to like evening time when the drugs fade, temperature is back. She's lethargic again, starts to get cranky,
Mm.
you know. So yeah, but thankfully um she's better now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Kids get sick at daycare. That's just
That's what happens.
it is just what happens, right? They pass things around each other. It happens.
It's
Um,
crazy. But
yeah,
yeah, I'm glad he's okay, and I'm glad. I mean, hopefully, you guys can get him back into daycare soon,
yeah,
because I can only imagine how stressful it could be. You know.
yeah. It's been a big stress, but we're easing into it, and it looks like we're slowly easing our way through to get vaccines. They're now opening it up to 40 and
Oh,
above.
okay, that's good.
So I'm like, I'm quite a few years away, but like,
Yeah,
it'll be 35 next, and I'll be like, come on, just squeeze me in. But,
squeeze this in exactly.
to all the
You,
people who say we're 35, shiggy.
yeah, exactly.
We're not close yet. We're not close.
You don't have the ability to like go through work or anything. There's no nothing like that for you guys, because like for me, even though um I'm not of that age, I would have still been able to like through my job and the type of work. I mean, your job is not essential work really, so I guess that doesn't count for you, right?
No, we're not. I mean, they're doing like teachers and people they consider, healthcare workers. Like Amara got hers like a month ago, even more than that. Even like she got her first
Mm-hmm.
shot. So people like me, little old me, it's just when your age pops up, you can do it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's coming. It's coming. I'm not that worried anymore. I'm not that bothered. It's coming. So
Well, that's good as long as there's hope. Because yeah, everyone needs to get on board with that. Even though for sure we're gonna need boosters like every other vaccine in
yeah.
like a year or 2 years or whatever. We'll
Hmm.
need boosters, so we all have to prepare for that. But
Now by that point, they would have figured out the logistics.
yeah,
So
hopefully, anyways.
yeah, let's just get this going now, and then we move forward. That's all we want to do right now.
Yeah, but yeah, welcome to another week, guys. It's been like we said in the beginning. It's been crazy.
Been a madness. Been
It's
a
been
madness.
yep. It's been a crazy couple of days, really. Since the weekend, um, well, I mean, starting with the topics we want to talk about. So, I guess we could start with the most recent thing. Actually, everything came to a head today. So, the two
Yeah,
main topics. So, whichever one you want to start with, Chauvin or
I
the
think
other one.
I think um, let's start with George Floyd and Chauvin because
Yes,
you know football's a big deal. But end of the day, if you take a step back, it's not that important, right? It's
exactly.
from a social context, sure, whatever. But the George Floyd thing is very important because if we circle back, we all know I can't breathe, and this is the guy who died at the with his body under the knee of Derek Chauvin, a police officer in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
That really sparked the protests, the civil rights protests last year. We had Ahmaud Arbery, we had Breonna Taylor, and then this. I feel like this was the last one. It was like a domino effect, and this just
Yep.
blew everything up.
Yep.
So this has been the most important trial in a very long time in the U.S.
Yep. I
Um,
think I think this was the one that happened um, right when the pandemic was like real.
mhm.
Do you know what I mean? I don't think people had understood the pandemic before then. So this was the first one that was really like people were locked up. I think so. That was the first. All right, am I wrong with that, or am I
No,
timing?
no,
Or
no, no. You're right. You're right. This was. They were burning buildings, and it
yeah,
was this was massive. This was, and it
yeah,
was right at people on the other side were like, well, if you can protest, then why are we being locked down?
yep,
It's like
yep,
all that type of bullshit.
yep.
Um,
So yeah, but it was it, I'm just glad this is one of the first high profile ones that got the verdict that we believe it should. Although I'm hearing that his sentence will not be more than 10 years. Not sure what manslaughter carries. I think it is up to 10 years. I don't know if he gets 10 years for each count or just in general for all counts, he will get a maximum of 10 years. So I don't know, but we'll see what the sentencing is. I don't know. I can't remember what day it's going to be, but sometime soon. But either way, each count, each charge was he got a guilty verdict for. So that's progress because up till now, no one. This is the first conviction for this kind of situation, right? In
yeah, I mean, there have been others but they've been fairly low profile in comparison. Like the guy who shot, I think it was in North Carolina. Remember that guy who was running away from the cop and the cop shot him in the back? Um, that cop got, I believe, jail time.
Mhm.
But this is significant because, like we said, this has been the biggest case in a very very long time. And we talk about sentencing. It was second degree murder, third degree murder, and second degree manslaughter.
Mhm.
I'm reading that they don't. You know how in some cases it's like okay, they stack them up.
Stack them up, yeah.
I'm hearing that they don't do that
The
in
concurrent.
this in Minnesota. However, I am reading that he could face up to 75 years because second degree
Oh,
murder there's a max of 40 years in prison, I believe, and third degree is a max of 25. So, mm, yeah, you're right in that they're saying that because he has no criminal history, he might do like 12
yeah.
years or something like that.
That's what I
They
heard.
might, but I mean, for me, I know that the family is going to want more.
Hmm.
Um, for me, what's important here, at least right now, we can talk about sentencing later, but at least right now is the verdict that
Yep.
justice has been done.
Yep.
Um, I think that's very important right now.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And I don't know if you saw the demographic of the jury. I think six white people, four black people, two mixed. That's 12, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's 12.
Hmm.
So that's good in the sense that, majority six white people still did the right thing, theoretically. I guess the mixed people, I don't know what they are, or it said mixed on the chart I saw, so I don't know what that means. or if it was supposed to be. I guess it was supposed to be 6 black, 6 white, but I guess 2 of the black are mixed. I
Hmm.
guess. But I found that interesting that they still came up with the right conviction at the end of the day. So I guess this sets a precedent for anything going forward, like this fucking what's her fucking name,
I hope.
Potter or whatever.
Oh, who's
That
that one?
the woman that shot the taser and shot.
That one. That
Yeah,
one. Okay.
that
Okay.
one that just happened what 2 weeks ago or less than. That one and unfortunately today in what city is it? Is it Cleveland, Ohio?
There
Starts with
was
a
a shooting
C.
in Ohio, that's for sure.
Shooting a 15-year-old girl was shot by a cop who apparently the girl was fighting with other girls in her yard, called the cops but had a knife and was protecting herself using the knife. And apparently the cop just rolled up, no questions asked, and started busting his gun. And I guess
Wow.
she was the only one that had a weapon in sight. Obviously, something she was using to protect herself, but he shot like 4 times at her, no questions asked, and she was the one that called the cops. So he didn't even hesitate, no nothing. He didn't even ask any questions. So that's another case, and it's crazy. In the last 2 weeks, how many shootings have we had?
There
And
was the other one, remember the 13-year-old boy,
yeah,
right? I forget his name. I think something Toledo,
yeah,
where and this is where you get into, it's so interesting how people make these things political.
hmm
Like conservatives will take a stance and liberals take the opposite stance, and they're like, "Oh, he had a gun." But he put the gun down. The video clearly shows he put the gun down, and then they go, "Well, how's a cop supposed to know?" I'm like, "He's a fucking cop. Like he's trained in this situation to know if someone's hands are up and if there's a
yep,
gun in his hand. Like he
yep.
like people act like cops are just regular people who get scared and just shoot. Like that's not the point. They're supposed to be better than me and you.
That's
That's the whole
that's
point.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. If you, I've seen I've seen all these posters when people are protesting. Is like, if you're too scared to like deal with people, you shouldn't have a gun in your holster. Like you shouldn't be trusted to have a gun in your holster.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know what the real saying is. It's a bunch of people that make all those posters when they go to protests, and I think I've seen one, something to that effect. I mean, I'm not getting it totally correct, but something to that effect. And it's true. If you're that scared of any little person that's unarmed, usually that is not as trained as you are, then why are you in the job?
Yeah.
You might as well, go do something else and not have to be in the line of fire. If you're gonna be scared that often, you know, you shouldn't be in that job. So it's crazy.
And what gets me is, there are the people who say, "Well, comply." Well, this that kid I just talked about complied. The girl you talked about
hmm
complied, and as far as I'm concerned, George Floyd complied. Like people are like,
hmm
"Oh, he was thrashed around." I'm like, "Huh?" They had him in handcuffs in the car.
hmm
Like he's your knee is on his neck, and the back of his neck, and my guy has handcuffs on. Like,
I'm
what
just
what do you think compliance is? Like,
I'm just so glad he didn't resist. The first videos or first things we saw of him, like pictures we saw of him, was him in the car, obviously looking distressed, like he knew the potential for things to go very bad.
hmm
Begging that they didn't do anything to harm him.
hmm
This is a big man who he wasn't being aggressive. He was just begging for his life and very cautious and very scared. Um, and they ignored him. And I believe the video also shows that they put him in the car for some reason, felt the need to bring him back out
hmm
and then proceeded to kill him. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know what the reason was for bringing him out, even if he was resisting anything. I believe, if I remember correctly, he was already fully in the car. So there's no reason for him to be brought out one more time. Like, just leave him in the car and shut the back doors and drive to the cops, the police station or whatever.
Yeah.
But they felt the need to have to subdue him. He's a big guy. Okay, he's a big guy. They brought 6 people to bring him down. Like, really? one of you is as big as he is. You don't need more than two people to bring him down. I'm certain of it. So why do you bring six people? And then the other three guys who were just there watching, that Asian guy, that one pisses me off the most because he's just there, not even saying anything to Chauvin to like take his knee off.
Hmm.
Nothing. Those guys are next in line for trials anyway. So let's see
Yeah,
what they get. But
they're
like,
all going to be tried at the same time, August 23rd, and obviously they're going to get charges to a lesser degree,
mm,
but they've got to be made an example of. Like it's very critical and very important to this movement that happens because these guys are whack, man. Like, and the thing is, my only fear is, to me, this case was extremely obvious from the get
mhm,
go. The defense were gaslighting, whatever. That's their job. Like this is the defense lawyer. That's his job. So I don't blame him for that. But they were
mhm,
gaslighting everybody in the process. But you don't have cases that are this obvious all the time. Um, you know, so I don't know how much we should take from it in terms of it being a landmark ruling necessarily. Um, like this would have burned down America because it was that obvious if they came out with the wrong verdict, in my opinion.
mhm.
Um, but even if you go back to the original story, you've seen that going around Twitter, right? Where they were like, "Man dies of medical issue during arrest." That was the
Fam,
original story they came out with, right? Like,
dude, that's crazy. If again, we complain sometimes that something bad is happening. Everyone brings their phones out. On the one hand, this is where recording and filming played a part because that was what brought things to a head in this case.
hmm
The fact that we could see what was going on, we could hear what was going on, we could hear the opinions of Chauvin after after the fact. You know what I mean? We could see the contempt in his eyes as he knelt there. We could literally watch George Floyd die
hmm
on camera. Those things were insurmountable. I don't care how good you are our defense attorney. There's nothing you could do in that situation. So, um,
Also,
good on, yeah.
to your point, sorry, it's like, the point you made earlier about how sometimes we say, put the camera down and do something. I'm like, I've heard that a lot in this case, and I've always wondered, do what? Like, these
Mhm.
cops are literally kneeling on someone. Like, are you asking, like, if they can show that much contempt for a human life, are you asking an onlooker to put his phone down and rush the cops?
Mhm.
Like, what are we talking about? Like, it's not every. I feel like we're in outrage culture, fine, but I think like we overdo it. Like all this, I mean, that MMA fighter, who was on, they cross-examined him and they tried to make him sound like an angry black guy. He did a
Oh,
really good
exactly.
job,
Hmm.
and he said that he wished he could have done something, and I understand the sentiment of it,
Hmm.
but even he knows
He knows, yeah.
that they're gonna shoot because they will shoot
He
and kill
knows.
him. He
He
knows
knows.
that.
Especially because, again, he's a fit-looking black man who, I mean, obviously now we know he knows MMA, but like I can only imagine his attack on the cop would have been efficient and it could have caused injury or at least make them feel scared where guns would have been drawn.
Hmm
You know what I mean? That's definitely probably what would have happened to this guy if he tried to rush or touch any cop for any reason.
hmm
He did the best thing he could do. And yeah, I mean, everyone, like you said, it's outrage culture. Someone's going to be offended that you did or didn't do something, regardless of the situation. And
hmm
that's just how it is. If he rushed in, somebody would have been like, "Why did you do that?" He didn't rush in. Some people are saying, "Why didn't you do anything?" You
hmm
know what I'm saying? So there's no win-win, but at least in this case, most of the evidence pointed us to where we knew we are going to end up, and we got there. So I'm glad that everything came to the right position. You
Yep,
know.
yep. It shows that I'm gonna put it this way: America is a place where the justice system is crooked. We know that. There are opportunities for it to work, and it does
Mhm,
at times work.
mhm,
It is not a perfect system. It's not even a very good system. It fails black people a lot more times then it does them right. We know that. There is the odd time where it does succeed, and you have to celebrate those. But every time, I think about this, I think about how um, we talk about racism, and it is an absolute fact in America, and the police system is absolutely systemically racist. That is a fact. The same thing in Canada, no problem. But I always think back to NSARS. I always have that connection where we look at what we did to our own people, right?
Hmm.
We look at what our own black people do to us, and we don't even hold ourselves to any regard. This is not one of those like, conservative right wing black on black crime false equivalence. It triggers me because we saw George Floyd die, but we also saw people die in the video at the Lekki toll gate, and there has been no accountability whatsoever. And that's something I want to end up talking about one day, where there's accountability in the Nigerian judicial system. But I don't know, man.
Nigerian zone is even like a different situation. Like I don't even know how that situation can be solved. Um, the wrong people are in power. The wrong people will continue to be in power, and they will never do anything about it. If
Hmm.
we have a president who is a jet setter and continent hopper when he should be dealing with fuel scarcity. He should be, helping with infrastructure. He should be sorting out the terrorism in the north. The kidnapping generally around the country.
Hmm.
You know, I can't tell you one thing that the Nigerian government, and I mean the office of the presidency, does efficiently. Like we can come out and say this is working that they've implemented. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, we had some clearly on the other day, and obviously there's initiatives that are working to some extent, but nothing to the key points that actually we can actually say, okay, you guys actually did a very great job on this, and have changed the way things are done uh, going forward. Nothing in I struggle with this word, innovative.
Hmm.
Nothing like profound. It's
Yeah.
just
I mean, you have
meh.
a country where they they've blocked the bank accounts of protesters. Like they froze the bank accounts of protesters. Sorry, it's like, huh? What? Like,
Like they shouldn't even be able to do that. They shouldn't be able to. I mean, let me not say that because I know the U.S. has ways of freezing accounts
yeah, but you have to go
of the
through the
citizen.
system and
Yeah,
identify you as a criminal, and that
mhm.
you will be able to use your funds for criminal enterprise. They didn't even go to that length in
Essentially, you have to have
Nigeria
a
at all.
warrant. A legal
Yeah,
warrant. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But
that's true. But anyways, I hope personally that this is the beginning of good things regarding any incidents like this. I mean, first of all, we need to not have incidents like this.
hmm
I saw Vice President Harris come out and say that um, they hope they make a law in George Floyd's name to prevent or mandate police reform to deal with things like this around the country.
hmm
So yeah, hopefully that's somehow enacted and and helps the situation. But other than that, I don't even know how we can solve this. Really, I mean, we need to just make sure police is doing the right thing and trained properly. And I don't know. It's just a sad situation,
very sad situation. Very
Because
sad
I mean,
situation.
we can only hope that it doesn't continue to happen. I think I was of the opinion that this year relatively had been good. I think generally during the pandemic it wasn't as bad as it was in previous years in terms of frequency.
Hmm.
I might be wrong, obviously, because no one's out, so you know who is doing what. But now it seems like things are getting back to normalcy on the wrong side. Also, it seems like
People just shooting each other and left and right, right?
every other week something's happening. So yeah. Hey, I don't know if anything's salvageable at this point, but we can only hope and pray. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
we'll just to stick to the topic of race in America.
Hmm.
And I want to use this to talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier a little bit.
Hmm.
Excuse me, sneezed
Bless
on the
you.
podcast. Wow. I did that again. Okay,
Bless
cool.
you.
I'm allergic to racism, clearly.
Exactly.
But the Falcon and Winter Soldier. This episode, this got me. This was the one.
The
I
whole the
know the
whole the
last
whole
one was
season
good.
the whole season has been saying this though.
Oh yeah, I
The
started
whole
off very
season.
skeptical, very very
The
skeptical.
first episode, or was the second episode, when we were first introduced to Isaiah, already spoke about this. And even from the beginning, when he gave the shield away, and then like the shield was then given to a white guy to be Captain America, it's been addressing these things. And if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, uh, Falcon and Winter Soldier is a Disney Plus show, a Marvel show
Hmm.
about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, both affiliates of Captain America. Captain America, based on the last movie, Endgame, is presumed dead, but we're not even sure because Sam keeps hinting that he might be somewhere. But he's left the mantle. He gave the shield to Sam, who's went to the Falcon. The first episode shows us that Sam has returned the shield because he doesn't feel like either is worthy or doesn't want to take up the mantle or whatever. And he's told by the U.S. government official that he's doing the right thing,
Hmm.
only for us to come to the end of the show and they give it to some white guy. So essentially, what we're talking about here is there's this narrative, that Captain America can never be black, and that generally he will not be accepted. Does he deserve it? Does the shield mean something else, like other than what Steve Rogers made it to be, in terms of, is it oppression? Is it racist? Is it a construct that still propagates putting people in their place, aka black people are not acknowledging them? You know, and to put it uh, even worse, we were introduced in episode 2 or 3 or whatever to a super soldier who existed at the same time, or actually before Steve Rogers,
Hmm.
um,
That was
who was
Isaiah
black,
Bradley, right?
Isaiah Bradley. He was black, and obviously, as because he was black in the First World War
Hmm.
period or whatever, he's supposed to be that old, right? He's supposed to be as old as Steve.
Yeah, it's like yeah, I think he's just a bit older.
Yeah, he's old. I mean, in terms of physically, he doesn't look like he's that old, but he's supposed to be
Hmm.
much older than he looks, I
Right,
believe, right?
right.
So, but yeah, they didn't acknowledge him as a super soldier. Actually, I like how they did this because they kind of used the same story as the Tuskegee guys. You know how they told us
Hmm.
the Tuskegee guys were experimented on and given all these vaccines as experiments also.
Yep.
The same, he kind of used the same thing in saying, instead of my group being given typhoid or whatever it was they gave them, they gave us the
The
super
serum.
soldier serum,
Hmm.
right? And it didn't work for everyone, so people died. But for me, it worked. So essentially, instead of acknowledging him as super soldier, he was used for stealth missions under the cover of night, never acknowledged. And then after that, he was jailed or incorrectly for rebelling or something. I forget what it was. He saved the POWs or something like that.
Yeah, they jailed him for rebellion, and then they basically wiped off his identity, so
Exactly.
he didn't exist.
And during that period, 30-year period, they were experimenting on him.
Hmm.
Essentially trying to regenerate the serum using his
Hmm.
blood. So what Bernie is trying to get to, and I'm going to let him talk now because I think I just took over his whole thing he wanted to
No, no,
say.
no. Go ahead.
Um, Essentially this Captain American, this Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, to me, as he has explored a lot of uh, American racial bias topics
Hmm.
very well, down to Americans trying to get mortgages and not being recognized, but then you're only known because you're either a sports person or a celebrity or something, and even then you still can't get what you need. help wise from the bank,
Hmm.
and then to this Captain America, black man can't be Captain America thing, which we believe is gonna be broken by Sam in the next episode. But yeah, just the way they're approaching this whole race issue and race issues of Americans in America, obviously, is very interesting. I for one love it whenever they do that. So
Yeah. You know, just to talk about shows, to contrast it, as I said before, WandaVision wasn't my. I mean, it was good, but I expected more because I wanted it to delve into some serious issues that would really challenge the viewer. Like her spiral into depression. Like let's talk about that and have a real conversation about that and learn
I
something
mean,
from
they
that.
did, but they didn't do it as deeply as they could have done it.
Yeah, it was very surface level. And at the end of the day, it became what I call typical Marvel.
Hmm.
This is not typical Marvel.
No.
This is breaking down topics and going in very deep. Like you said, the
Yeah.
mortgage stuff and the race stuff. And one of the things that's very important to touch on here is if I'll even talk about displacement, displaced people,
Hmm.
because the
Hmm.
blip happens and the people are great, and all of a sudden people come back and these people don't have a place to live.
Refugees,
They're effectively
refugees,
refugees fighting for their place in this world,
for
and the
freedom.
world isn't listening to them, so they're trying to take it by force.
Yep.
And it forces you to, yes, you understand that what they're doing is wrong, but you're empathizing with them in
Hmm.
many ways,
Hmm.
right? And that's deep to me. But what really hits me is this imposter syndrome that Sam feels. And I'm not an Anthony Mackie guy. I'm coming around a little bit because of the power of the
He's
story. Though
he's acting his ass off in this.
he's doing a
He's
good
doing
job.
okay. He's doing okay. Yeah,
He's doing a
he's
good
doing okay.
job. But I don't want him to be Captain America. However, there is this imposter syndrome that exists in the black community because of what has happened, not just in America, but colonialism as well, where we feel as if we don't deserve things, right? It's one of the reasons why I even remember when Obama was running for president. I know my family said this. We're like, yeah, he just running so he can pick him up. Someone can pick him up as VP or something, you know. And that man had the conviction in him that he was going to do it. I didn't believe him. I don't even think black people really believed him at that point. But he forced you to take on his message and believe him, and then he won. Great. I
Hmm.
see parallels here, and I think it's intentional, but it's also true because most black people live in a society that misjudges them, that brings them down, that doesn't want them to succeed, but also doesn't think that they can. And they've indoctrinated that in us to think that we won't succeed. So it's that
Hmm.
imposter syndrome. And Sam felt that. He didn't feel like he was worthy for the shield. It took him to see what someone else would do
Hmm.
in the wrong hands. And that person happened to be a white person drunk on power, effectively.
Hmm.
Right. And then he decided to work on it. And that's what we saw in the last episode. And I think that's such an important message, but I'll give it a flip side. I don't want him to be Captain America because I agree with Isaiah Bradley in that I don't judge anyone who tries to reform the system and work within the system to reform it. 'Cause that's what Sam's about to do. He's going to take the shield. He's going to become Captain America, and he's going to wear the mantle and inspire black people to be whatever they want to be. And that is fine. That is what Obama did. That is great. It works. My personality is that I want to beat the system up from the outside. And I don't want to be, you know,
Part of it.
your yeah. I don't really want to be a part of that. In that, this position of Captain America has been used to terrorize black people for decades in the show, right?
Hmm.
And American presidency has been used to terrorize black people for a long time. I get, and it's not a criticism. I want people who are listening to understand what I'm saying. I understand the need for there to be a black president. I understand the need for someone to come in and try and change things. Obama didn't get as much done as he wanted to because the system also broke him down to the point that he couldn't be solely a black president and look out for the black agenda. He had to be the president for everybody. And that's what this guy is going to be challenged with is can he prioritize his own people and prioritize black interests in a way that still includes everybody else, but doesn't make him look like he's just this black guy. He's going to have
Uh,
that issue as Captain America, and I just don't wish that on anybody.
Let me ask you this: what's the alternative? What way does one infiltrate, or make the change that you're advocating. I'm talking about you brought in presidency and the parallels with this. In general, as a black person, if you want these changes to be made, what is the way to do it if you're not going to join them or be in the system from the inside? You want to do it from the outside. So essentially, my point is you're on the side of what's the girl's name that's trying to change how things are
Well,
and being terroristic.
I'm on
What,
her. I'm on her side. I'm
fine,
on.
but like my point is the same thing Sam told her is what I'm telling you.
Mhm.
And what? How
Right.
do you do that without becoming the animal you're trying to, you know, uh, curb? You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
I mean, what you're, and I'm obviously sure you're not advocating any violence or any type of rebellion that will lead to that. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I still don't understand how you do it without eventually going down that path of anarchy.
I
What
agree with you.
works? What works in a sane way that excludes you from being inside with them, trying to fix it from the inside?
No,
I don't.
I'm
I
with
can't
you.
see it.
No, I'm with you. I think it depends on the position that you're in. Like, I think that um it's a bit of a Malcolm X Martin Luther King, right? Because Malcolm X was like, nah, I'm not playing in the system. Martin Luther King embraced the system. He was very good friends. Well, some people would say with JFK, and he was trying to work the system for our benefit, black people's benefit, and probably you can say he did that, right? Even though he got assassinated for it in the end, which is exactly what the system will try and get you down. Malcolm was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not about that. And his whole thing was, and the Black Panther Party was a bit like that, where they were like, we're going to prop ourselves up. We don't need you, right? They were feeding, Judas and the Black Messiah is a must-watch movie as far as I'm concerned, because, they were offering daycare services, free meals. They were basically creating their own ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
that was saying, you're going to screw me over anyway. That system, I don't think, I think it's what I would prefer we do. However, I know that whenever you create your own successful ecosystem, the bigger, more dominant, established one will try and bring you down. So,
And
th-
that will lead to violence, which is what
yes, it will.
Malcolm X did. That's what the Black Panthers ended up having to do.
Mm-hmm.
The violence met Martin Luther King. The girl in Falcon Winter Soldier is using violence to get her way. What way do you do it without getting to that point?
I think that
Because
the way that you do that is, I personally think, because if I personally think that now the way that things are happening, for example, if you look at Black Lives Matter as an organization, and I argue with people all the time about Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is an independent organization, right? They do work with politicians, but they're not in politics.
Mhm.
They're working outside to get things done. And the pressure that Black Lives Matter has put on politicians is immense. It really is. It's to me, it's one of the most successful civil rights movements that we've seen, because if you look at the things that politicians are actually doing and actually saying right now, they're saying things that Black Lives Matter wants them to do and wants them to say. So that's just how I would do it. I would stay on the outside, but have my allies on the inside. And so, for if we take it back to Falcon and Winter Soldier, my head would be, you stay as Falcon, and you stay as Falcon, and you do good work as Falcon. And through that good work, you can build a grassroots organization as Falcon with a bunch of other black heroes, right? Come up behind you, and then you make your stand and you go, hey, I'm going to work with you, but I'm over here because your system brought us down. That's to me how you do that, and you ensure there's no violence.
okay, so now that's not going to work. One, because I get what you're saying. Prop yourselves up, make your own thing, and then try to come to the table. But you, by trying to come to the table, you're inviting the opportunity for these people who oppose you to act, and they will act. And, that's where the violence starts. I'm not saying you start the violence. I'm saying it'll come to you
So I
by
think
by by trying to exclude. The problem I see is exclusivity, like is trying to be separate. causes problems in itself, because that's what we're trying to fight them for trying to be separate and keeping us out by being separate and keeping them out.
No, I'm not talking about separation. I'm talking about independence. It's a different thing in that, for example, if you look at there's another group called Black Lives Matter of Greater New York.
Mhm,
They're actually not an official Black Lives Matter chapter.
mhm,
And the Black Lives Matter of Greater New York are more on the Black Panther side. They're armed.
mhm,
They want to create their own security force for Black people. So
mhm,
they're very much, Black Panther militants. Where the Black Panther part, no, sorry, not the Black Lives Matter as an organization, which has its own independent affiliated chapters, they're non-violent. They're non-violent and they are politically savvy. They're two different things. The Black Lives Matter way is I want to work with you. I am on my own, so you cannot control me. You cannot infiltrate me. And because we have independent chapters that do their own thing, you will not bring me down because you crush this one, another one springs up. But when you have Black men carrying guns and creating their own security and literally going against the system, because what they're saying is we don't care about the police. Like here we're fighting the police. Here they're saying we are our police. That's a different conversation altogether. And the system will bring you down. What the system has learned now is that actually everyone believes Black Lives Matter except for racists, right? So you're not going to try and bring down the Black Lives Matter organization, the actual one, not the Greater New York type. It's not like when the FBI and CIA said, all these Black people, if they rise up, like we're screwed. Where they killed Fred Hampton, they
mhm.
killed Malcolm X, they killed all these people. They can't do that. Like they literally cannot do that now because everyone is wise to how they operate. And now we do a little bit of the Martin Luther King, where you work with the politicians a little bit. You do a little bit of the Malcolm X, where you say fuck these guys, right? That's in there, and then there's a little bit of the more modern woke social media side. You put it all together, and to me, you have a way to go about this. And from a Sam Wilson perspective, I'm just saying, why do you want to follow in what's his name, Steve Rogers' footsteps when you just talk to Isaiah Bradley? I'm like, what? Like, be Falcon, be the Black man, be the Black symbol, and make the white people realize that hey, actually, this black symbol can also represent America, not just the one that was. I know they want to change the white symbol and make it universal, and I'm actually okay with it. I'm not opposed to it. I'm just saying the way that I would do it is very, very different. I would prop up my blackness more so than embrace what was used to torture me.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm if you're trying to get to a point of unification, why do you feel the need to
A point of what? Sorry.
unification?
No, I'm not trying to get there.
Eventually, okay.
I'm
So
trying to get. I'm
that's
trying
the
to get to a
point.
point of respect because and what I mean is think about this. Let's take it to another concept. Um, Desegregation of schools back in the day was a good thing and a bad thing at the exact same time. It was a good thing in that it showed that you will not subjugate me to poor quality and be racist against me. Right? Like I deserve to go to wherever you deserve to go. Straight, like that's a fundamental human right in terms of schools, right, and
Mhm.
places to eat and all that. It's great. But what did it do to the black economy? It actually set it back. And set it back because now what would happen? White companies would come into neighborhoods, gentrification, eat up things. There was no longer a reason for black people to exclusively go to these black owned stores and blah 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 blah. It killed a lot of stuff, right? There's a Killer Mike documentary on Netflix about that. That's really interesting. Like, and what he did was for a week he only tried to consume black products,
Yeah.
right? So all I'm saying is the unification was that, and it had its purposes and it had its benefits. But you have to make sure that you prop up yourself in your own interest because full blown unification is actually still the subjugation of your own culture for someone else. That is how it works when there is, a power structure where, the white class is stronger than the black class. The only way you unify is to embrace them. What we're saying is, I am here and you are here. We come together, but the paint doesn't necessarily always mix, but we accept that we are together, but we are different. That's all to me, and I hope that the show does that. I hope it's that intelligent to do that, because it seems to me like he's dangerous on the precipice of going, yeah, I'm just gonna do the Steve Rogers thing. I'm like, no, no, be
But
Sam Wilson.
I think he's gonna be Sam Wilson. He's just gonna. I think the point for that show specifically is trying to show that the symbol of Captain America is for all and should be done in a certain way. And I think it's more about Steve Rogers than America. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's more about propagating Steve Rogers' legacy and who he was than trying to represent what America is. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why him and Bucky feel so strongly about it, because to them, Captain America is the person, Steve Rogers, not the symbol for America. And if you think about it, Steve Rogers lived his life that way. He wasn't necessarily America's mouthpiece because he rebelled against it when it wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you get what I'm saying?
So let
So,
me ask you this question then: do you think he should call himself Captain America?
um, mm, I don't
Because
know.
he's gonna wear the suit, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it. Maybe the show will take a twist. He's gonna wear the suit. So he's gonna wear the suit. He's training with the shield. He's gonna use the shield. Is he still Sam Wilson if he's wearing the uniform and carrying someone else's shield?
Hmm. I don't know. I mean, obviously, we know from the comics he becomes Captain America,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I see it more. I guess I see it more, and this is in tune with what I was saying before, more as getting in and bringing together as opposed to two silos and respecting that two silos exist.
Mm.
I think that's what I'm not necessarily comfortable with, even though I understand it. But I feel like that just leads to inevitable conflict, because if you share the same things, someone's going to want to be dominant as just as a human being. And I'm not even talking about them. At some point, if we feel like we're more superior, we're going to try to get everything. That's
Yeah,
just human
yeah.
nature.
No, I understand. I think
So
the way I
I
see it
kind of
is that there's a concept in Toronto, and New York is actually a very good um, comparison point. You guys call yourself a melting pot.
mhm,
We call ourselves a mosaic,
mhm,
where there are multiple independent pieces that come together to make this piece of art.
yeah.
Well, you guys, it's like I mean, New York is not actually that, but the idea, the concept is that we're all just in this pot, and then we all become one thing.
Mhm.
But what thing are you becoming? Right? You know what I mean? You're going to become one something.
They're becoming other, though. That's the thing. I'm more for. I want to be in a place where you legitimately are not seeing black and white.
I would love it.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Hmm.
That's why I'm afraid of being. I'm not saying don't be pro black, but
Hmm.
it sounds like very very close to Black Panther thinking, but just trying to talk to the other side more in a more civilized way and trying to make sure everyone understands where we stand and get the respect we deserve. Other than that, it's the Black
How does
Panther mandate.
that work? And so here's what I hear a lot in Canada, for example, um, that immigrants should come in and embrace Canadian culture. What is that?
No, yeah, okay,
Yeah, I think
I
even
get that.
Americans say that, right? Like what is that? Because what
Yeah.
they're actually asking for is a little bit like what you just said, which is we all come together, right? And we all become this one thing. Whatever that one thing is. It could be another, but we become this one thing. What people are asking in America and Canada and a little bit in the UK is that you embrace, and we've seen it with, the royal family stuff, is that you embrace our culture. What is your culture? You are all immigrants anyway, right? Like what is this American culture? Like Canadian culture, really, like what they want you to do is to embrace hockey and winter sports and beaver tails and all this other stuff. And we're like, I want to eat my, okra soup and
Yeah,
fufu. I
but
want to, like, you know what I mean? Like I I don't think that's practical. This whole because when the thing about the melting pot is what you're saying is idealistic in that we want to mix up and become an other, like something new, something better, something the sum of our parts is better than what it was. But
Mhm.
what happens is you become the dominant thing, like whatever that dominant thing in the stew or in the pot is what you will evidently become. What I'm saying is stay in your let's all respect our individuality. There are some common threads, but hey, I'm Nigerian and I'm Canadian. You're Irish and you're Canadian. You're Italian and you're Canadian, and we can all be friends. That's all. That's what I want because I think
E-
it's
e-
more realistic.
Even what you're saying is, I don't even know if that. See, again, like I said, I guess this is just human nature will not let that exist properly. It won't. It won't. Someone's gonna break something. Something's gonna
You're
happen.
right. You're right. Someone will.
It won't.
But
I mean,
I think to your
because
point.
everyone's not invested in each other. They're invested in themselves. That's
So
that's
that
where I'm trying to go.
so that's the thing, right? Like, well, that's why I said that what you're saying is idealistic because I'm cool with that. Like, however, it won't work because whenever there's a dominance, which there is, the minority will break. That's why we had civil rights, right? That's why we had all these things. There is always a minority, and that minority will break. It's Protestant, Catholic, it's black, it's white, it's northerner, it's southerner in Nigeria. It's all these things. They want us to be one Nigeria. How? You know what I mean? Like how? What does that even mean? If someone says to you Nigerian culture, you'd be like, what? Like it actually is the most meaningless word, like two words in the world. It's
Fair enough.
impossible.
I think this all come. So then, if you do see, look, if you do it the way you're saying, the extreme form of it is territories, closed borders. That's it.
You know, open the border.
No, 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 no.
I'm saying the
No, no,
EU.
no, 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 bro. Let's be real. Let's use Nigeria as an example.
Hmm.
We'll have trade between each other,
Sure.
but each region stands on its own.
Yes.
We have the respect of each other. We'll
Hmm.
probably, we definitely can't be under one country at that point.
We
We
shouldn't
can't.
be.
That's what I'm saying. So
Hmm.
then you're essentially fractured and you have your own borders. And now you're a visitor
Yes.
coming into here. Fine.
Yes.
In America, a place where the land is huge and everyone's here and everyone's already we're at the wrong spot. So now you're saying
Hmm.
everyone should like then you begin to create territories within and
Yes.
then you begin to do borders and then you begin to do
What
again
what I'm calling for.
the human element will come in and we have
Yeah.
wars and we have land grabs and we have so I'm
Hmm.
there's no
It's gonna have them anyway.
it's, my point is honestly to me the end point evaluation of all this is there will never be peace as long as we're human beings. Never.
Yes. Yes.
Never.
So what I'm calling for is the EU. The EU. I mean, it didn't last in the sense of the UK wanted something, and this is what I'm saying
Again,
is
the UK
I
is going to be
completely.
somebody in
You
this whole group is the UK
yes, always,
eventually.
always.
That's what I'm saying.
I know that what I'm proposing won't last. I know it.
It
I'm
won't be
still proposing it.
it'll
I
be
know it won't
war.
last
I'm
because
telling you.
the EU, at least, there's still a big enough block that's like the UK is daft, and you guys are greedy, and go do your thing. The rest of us are gonna stay here. Because listen, you can go from Italy to Spain to France to wherever you want to, open border, but all those countries are distinct and different. You've done Euro trips, you know this. I don't have to tell you that. Like that is a mosaic. That's what I want, where we all have a common agenda of getting along. I can go see you if I want to see you, but over here, where I am over here, you do this my way over here.
So okay, that's a good point. In a continent or country like Canada or the United States, how does that work as it is? Because you're saying it,
I'm not saying that all the black people in Canada should band together and create like the province of Blackonia or something.
Fuck off to Africa. I'm telling you, look, that's what it comes down to. Go back to where you're from.
No, I'm not like I know we're using the analogy.
Leave the Americas for the American Indians. Everyone fuck off, like including the Irish and the English.
Realistically, yes, but now that we're all here, all like I said, I'm not saying that we create Stankonia or something. Like I'm saying that I know that's unreasonable, but there has to be some type of black interest. There has to be something. In Canada, you guys in the US are even doing well. In Canada, there's nothing in this country that stands for black interest. Nothing. Like Black Lives Matter Toronto is just Toronto, but there's nothing that props up the black interest. There are lots of things that prop up Chinese interests, Indian interests as well, but there's not a single thing that props up black interest. We need to figure that out. And
But
then
we
that
know,
way you can stand up and stand out.
but that's a common black experience even here because our cultures are varied because of slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
So only true African Americans have solidarities, really.
Mm-hmm.
Africans from wherever their countries have one common thing. So I can see why that's a difficulty.
But our solidarity should be the fact that, like, and I'm going to use a very aggressive example, that police will stop you and shoot you.
That's where it's getting to, though.
They don't care that your name is Chimdi.
That's why Black Lives Matter exists, I guess. And that's the whole point of the whole thing. So
yeah.
Anyways, that was a longer debate than I thought we were gonna have.
You know me. This type of things I enjoy.
Yeah. But yeah. I think honestly, I just feel like human beings are just fucked. And honestly, we will never have peace. Like we're having relative peace right now, but there's still chaos. I don't see it. I don't
best
see
we
it.
can do. What we are in now is the best we can do, I guess. Maybe that's what it is.
I don't see human race ever being unified for more than a few milliseconds. Someone's always going to be upset. Somebody. It's crazy. But anyways,
it is what it is. We will like I have a thing I gotta run to, and we were going to talk about the Super League. I will say one thing on the Super League. The Super League is also another encapsulation of what we just talked about.
Exactly.
There are varying interests. They tried to create this mosaic. I don't even know what it is. They tried to create, and someone said, "Nah, fam, I want more, and I want out." And we thank God that they've been defeated.
Yep, exactly. I mean, again, it was just a very crazy day from Woodward leaving to everyone leaving. Thank God, is what I have to say. Like I told you in the group chat, the whole idea of the Super League from a money standpoint made sense, but you can't do that kind of thing with a sport that's never been that way. The American sports have always been like American things are, closed off and, self-sufficient in that way. You can't try to translate that to a sport that's prides itself on being global and open. And that was the mistake they made. And I'm glad that it's not going to work. I'm not looking forward to the potential ramifications of this for our summer. There's two things. There are good things that could happen, but also bad things that could happen. Because now I'm just thinking about summer. Okay, they've already made the different structure, so Ed's not going to be involved in any negotiations with players anymore. So, will Dortmund hold United as a club and the players and manager and the board, not the board of directors, like the director of football and stuff like that, accountable for what the Ed Woodward and the owners tried to do? Will they not want to deal with us anymore? Type of thing. I hope not. Generally, how will clubs see each other? Because from our point of view, everyone knows Ed's leaving. Everyone knows that he's no longer theoretically the person that's going to be talking to any other clubs for deals. Theoretically, so we could be cool on that. But like Perez is involved in every trade for Real Madrid. Who's going to want to deal with him going forward? They wouldn't even have money. So what are they going to do? people have soiled their reputation essentially, um, and that could have a knock-on effect on the playing side of everything, and that's my worry.
Yeah, I think for those who don't know, this 12 clubs decided that they wanted to create their own competition and break away from everyone else and do their own thing and make more money. And they got batted away by supporters and players who said this is not fair. What you're doing is not equitable, so we don't want it. And I think Ed Woodward leaving Manchester United and resigning as a fall guy helps United's profile because a new person comes in and goes, "Hey, I'm leading steering the ship now." And especially if they bring in Edwin van der Sar, then it becomes like now you brought in one of the good guys. I don't think it will happen, but I'm saying if they did something like that, it'd be a great move because it allows a reset. People like Edwin van der Sar. He was very outspoken against this.
I
So
actually
I would do everything I could if I was United to get him in, though I don't think it will happen.
see. I don't think it'll happen. One, I don't think we should do that only because he has where he is and he's comfortable. But I also, if we truly believe as a footballing side of the club that we have a culture, why don't we do the same thing they did in Ajax? It was a big punt to let him come in and do the job he did. Find someone equivalent and put them in and have it really be football men. Because we all admire Bayern Munich and how they're run, but they're legitimately all footballers that are now running the club. You can say the person didn't have experience. You can say it's too much for a club of United to have that kind of size, but every single person in those other clubs started at some point without having experience.
Yeah,
Rummenigge, Kahn, everybody, Van der Sar, what's his name? Overmars, all of them came in as novices, as former players, and they're doing the jobs theoretically, or everyone says they do a good job. I don't like that United thinks that we should be able to put them everywhere and snub looking internally. I
I
don't
don't
like
think
that.
that's a bad idea, but there has to be
Watch
someone who's who's the chairman.
if they offer someone, I mean, wait, we're looking for. I'm not even looking at a vice. I'm looking for someone that will be the CEO, equivalent of Van der Sar. Van der Sar is a CEO, business side and football side. He's a CEO, right?
Yeah, but what you're asking for is that there's a ex United football player,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that ex United football player works through the ranks of the executive, chamber, let's say, in
Mm-hmm.
some way capacity,
Mm-hmm.
and then becomes a CEO. We don't have a player in any
Well, we do. We,
capacity
we do
that
now.
can do that.
We do
We ha-
now.
who do we have?
We have Darren Fletcher.
Yeah, but that will take him 5 years to achieve that,
Maybe
right?
maybe they don't fill his role. Maybe they do something else
So what I guess that's the point I'm making is you need someone who can serve as an executive vice chairman and CEO right now.
right now. Fair enough. I get
And if you need that person right now, why not get a former United player who knows
it.
United way?
Fair enough. Yeah, if they can get him, but they're not gonna get him from Ajax. I like you same way you're trying to be territorial with being black and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like that Dutch players are in Ajax and they're running Ajax. German players are in Bayern Munich or running Bayern Munich. You know, I don't want it
You want
necessarily to
you
be
want an
English.
English player,
I don't necessarily want it to be English,
right?
but I want it to be someone that is embedded or has enough at stake with the club personally to do it. Because
I
Van der
I
Sar
think
has Ajax in heart, even
I
before
think he has
United.
United in heart. He's
No,
always posting about United too,
I
right?
know, even before United. United was his later career.
Yeah, but I mean he's been asked about this, and he's actually said that he would like to do it, but he's not ready.
Fine.
Is the words that he used.
Well, first of all, he shouldn't come near if the owners are still there. I wouldn't even want him
I
to do
wouldn't
that.
wish it on him, no. But the
Exactly.
the, the thing about Van der Sar is this: if you get Van der Sar in, right, it's the executive equivalent of getting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in, because what that means is this is Ferguson approved. And if
Mhm.
it's Ferguson approved, you know that the principles are in place. And that's what we want, right? And then Van der Sar, in 5 years, can hand it off to Darren Fletcher. And then he can hand it off to some. These are people who played together. They're friends. They think alike. They understand what the club is about. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, as a short term person, because that role, you're not going to do that for 10 years. It's not going to be. And it could actually take 5, 10 years for someone to be the caliber to run Man United. Ajax is small fry. Let's be honest here. Like it's small fry. Like to be able to run Manchester United, I'm not gonna give it to Darren Fletcher even in 5 years. No, he won't be ready for that.
Well, I just don't. I would, if I was Van der Sar, I wouldn't leave Ajax personally. I think Ajax is a big enough. Is I know what you're saying about United, but Ajax in its own right is a big giant.
He will.
So I wouldn't even. He will leave at some point. I get it, but
And there's nowhere else, no better place for him to go than Man United. Then he can work with his heart. Is what that's
fair,
what you're asking for.
fair enough.
Because he's anywhere else he goes, it's just a job. But he comes to Man United, it's going to be with his heart. The only other person I would want personally, though I think he's too invested in his current situation, is David Beckham.
Yeah,
But
that's
he's too
what I thought
invested
about
in
too.
Inter Miami. But
That's
he's
what I thought
learning
about.
on the like right. He's doing
He's
it. Like
learning there
you
right
know,
now. Yeah, yeah.
he could sell it off and then come to United. I don't know, but or make it a feeder club or something. Who
Do
knows?
you think Nicky Butt's gonna come back to United now?
No,
No, he's
no,
done. You
no.
see what he posted?
Yeah, I just want him to be a manager. I think he's good enough to be a manager somewhere. So
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
see.
Okay,
We'll see.
we'll see. Well, good talk, buddy. I know you have
Yeah,
to run.
yes, sir.
Are you? Anyways, we'll talk about it after. So, yeah, but thank you guys for listening. This was a very spirited debate. I really liked it. I like that we opposed each other too. Also, that was good.
Yes, and
Um,
I hope people, you have thoughts. Let us know. This is a pretty deep one, so yeah,
yeah,
let us know your thoughts, and we'd love to communicate with you on those.
exactly. All right, buddy. Have a good night.
All right, take care, man.
Peace.